Peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings, y'all. What is going on? What is going on? You are now tuning into the Ankh Living Podcast with yours truly, the one and only KiMu JTD. And we are now about to get tuned in so you can stop just living like that whole statement, life be lifing. We got to get rid of that. And we going to start living life, because literally that's what the podcast is called. We're going to be diving into health, not just physical, but mental and mental, spiritual, emotional. We're going to be diving into some wealth topics, not just financial, but your mindset too, because mindset is the first thing. And then we're also going to be diving into some relationship things, and not just relationships with other people, but also relationships with yourself, because I personally believe that if you want to have better relationships with other people, you have to have a better relationship with yourself. It starts with you first. It starts with the inside first, and then it exudes into the outside. So if that's something you want to continue to get tuned into, make sure you download, subscribe, share, like, do all the things right now so you could get notified every time that I drop a new video, that another podcast episode comes out. You will be notified. All right, so make sure you go ahead and do that. Today specifically is going to expound upon last week's episode, which was breathe, stretch, shake. And yes, if you got it, you know that specific phrase is a hip-hop music reference by Mace. But today I want to specifically hone in on one which I personally feel is more on the side of like more practical, something that people really can do. If we take the whole equation of breathe, stretch, shake, you can take this one aspect of that episode, of that phrase, focus in on that, and you can have a better life. That's what today's episode is about. And specifically, if you didn't figure it out, it's going to be about the stretch part. Like, yes, I want you to breathe. Like, breathe is the essence of our life. I want you to be able to build resilience and perseverance and determination by being able to shake things off. But if we let go of those other two, we still can be successful. We still can have a fulfilling life. And in any aspect, whether it's health, whether it's wealth, whether it's relationships. And I'm going to tell you my own personal story so I can make it more relatable and hit it home. Stretch. Like, I can't tell you how much more pleasant, how much enjoyable, how much more personable I've become just because I decided that one day I'm just going to stretch myself, and I'm going to stretch myself to a point where I'm able to get along with other people, that I'm able to go on different endeavors, that I'm actually able to get out of my comfort zone. Because that is, if you didn't watch that episode, please go watch it, because I really talk about some really good things in that episode. But we're really talking about stretching ourselves. We're not talking about, this is yoga in the mind. We're here really thinking and seeing what areas of my life can I really grow? Where can I really grow? But before we really get into the practicalities of stretching, and once again, we're not talking about, doing like arm stretches and leg stretches. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about more soft skills. I want to tell y'all a bit of a story, and where I came in to really starting to stretch myself. And, first and foremost, growing up, I was a kid who didn't like stretching. And ironically, I share this with other people, and they kind of think like this is bogus. This is a bogus excuse for me not stretching. But I used to either do the bare minimum in stretching, or I just wouldn't stretch at all. And especially, and once I really stopped playing basketball, if I wasn't playing on a team, like if I was just playing recreational, I wasn't stretching. Like I wasn't stretching before I played the game. And it just so happened that ironically, anytime that I did stretch when I played recreational basketball, guess what? I got injured. Like, and we're not talking about like a serious injury. We're talking about like I pulled something. So I was just like, bump stretching. Like, I'm not doing that. You could forget that. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna play. I'm just gonna play my game while I'm sitting here playing with my friends. And some of my friends, especially when I hit college, like some of my friends were on the intramural team. Some of my friends were on the club team, and they're sitting there stretching. Now, everybody has their own life. Everybody has their own experiences, but I'm not telling anybody not to stretch. I'm giving you my personal experience, because that's all I can do. Give you my personal experience so you can go experience something on your own. And when it came to stretching with basketball, I kept getting injured. And then I stopped playing basketball so frequently, and I started going down this journey into yoga. And I discovered yoga, and I was like, oh, so this is where these stretches come from. Okay, like that makes sense now. And I started to realize, because there was a different level of pushing and discomfort that I was going through. And, in some of those yoga poses that I was reading in some of the books I have, I was like, yo, these are really uncomfortable, like massively uncomfortable. Like, some poses, like you gotta hold this awkward position for like some say like 10 breaths, and it's like, yo, like really, like this is very uncomfortable. It's not only uncomfortable for my bones, it's uncomfortable for my hamstrings, for my whole leg. Like my whole leg is shaking because of this level of discomfort. And what I started to discover as I was encountering different relationships, how to work with people, how to work with my mom, how to work with everybody in my circle, is I had to really take a second, because me being resistant to stretching on a physical note, to play basketball or to do some type of physical activity. I didn't even stretch when I was working out in the gym, or before or after. What I had to realize is that I'm taking that same behavior and I'm putting that into relationships and with other people, and into relationships with myself. Like, I was resistant to being able to see another side. I was resistant to being able to see where other people were coming from. I was just resistant to, unless like you had some empirical evidence that trumped my thought process, which was rare, you wasn't about to sway me, and I was already resistant. I'm not gonna lie, I had this know-it-all complex. And what I had to realize in my relationships, one, I had to ask myself this question of, why do I think like this? Like, why is it that I'm so resistant to these other ideas? And I had to start to stretch myself. And once again, as I'm always referring to, as these different hats. I would not have been able to become as successful as I am with the hats that I wear if I wasn't willing to stretch myself. And I really think that it began with me practicing yoga. It required me to stretch myself a little bit more, because I defeated that idea of me wanting to be in competition with other people. I started wanting to be in competition with myself, and I felt like that's a lot healthier, and it for me personally, it has gotten me a whole lot further. One, I'm not destroying anybody else's ego by being in competition by myself. The downside is I could be hard on myself. Especially at previous years, I was hard on myself. I was like, yo, like, you gotta do better. Now I've stretched myself into a position where I can be more in a flow, but also like what my mom told me, just do your best. And your best is never going to be the same. Like, your best today is going to be different than your best tomorrow and your best in the past, because we're always changing. But in every single moment, we can stretch ourselves. We can stretch ourselves to do something new. We can stretch ourselves to do something we already do to a different level, which will allow us, like rubber bands. If you heard my analogy in last week's episode, we're getting longer, we're stretching. Yes, the rubber band is going to snap back at some point. It's going to want to snap back at some point. You are going to snap back at some point. But the thing is, it's not a snap. The uncomfortability is for you to snap back, rest, and then come back out. The more you come back out, the longer you can go, and I'm speaking duration, and the less of the stretch it becomes for you to do whatever it is that you're. I mean, I can say you're that looking to get into, especially because I took, and this is a good example, I took the time, the hours, the months, the years to develop a relationship with myself, which allowed me to then be able to cater to all the other relationships that I have in my life appropriately and not take things personally. It just be like, it is what it is. No, I'm not nonchalant about it. Yes, I do care. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to try and sit here and control a situation that, as most people would say, where it takes two to tango. So I want to get into some practicals, some real hardcore soft skill stretches, if we may, right now. So let's get into it. So one thing that you can do when it comes to you stretching, getting to that next level, is one, you can just learn something new, whether it's a new language, whether it's a new task, whatever it is, whether it's reading faster, like learn something new that you have not learned before. Like, that's one thing that you can do. What that does when you're learning something new is it gives you the ability to just see something from a different angle, and maybe, just maybe, you might even be able to take what you learned that's new and apply the concepts there once you have really understood it and figured it out, and apply it to other aspects of your life. For me, for instance, when I started learning how to trade in the foreign exchange market, after studying and being mentored for a year, and me already having the desire for personal development that I had, I started realizing that the concepts that are going on in the market are no different than than what's going on, than what's in real life. Therefore, it already emphasized a principle, a law of the universe that I already understood, which was all is one. You, in no instance should you be able to isolate a specific concept and only be able to apply it to a certain aspect in life. Like, never. Every aspect of anything can be applied to another area of life, another skill. That's just a little tidbit. Another thing that you can do to really stretch yourself, and this is going to be really uncomfortable because most people feel like everybody should agree with them. If you're going to be my friend, if you're going to be my partner, if you're going to be in my camp at some extent, you got to do this. You have to agree with me. And I'm going to tell you right now, one of the best ways that you can stretch yourself is by listening to others or reading things that you disagree with, and you disagree with them. And the reason why I say that is because, once again, it is about stretching. when you hear things that you would disagree with, you will learn to have empathy for those with different perspectives and not want to argue them down. Like, I feel like that's a big issue with a lot of people. Because somebody disagrees, we want to argue, and we don't have to do that. We can literally just say, hey, I agree to disagree. We can still be cool. I don't know you, but we can still be cool, because though we disagree, there's something that you know that I don't know, and I can learn from you. You can learn from these disagreements. You can learn from these other ideas that you disagree with, and you can maybe find something in there. You can find an opportunity, because this is why we're here on Ankh Living, is really just finding those opportunities in life that we can apply to our own life so we can have a better one, or so we can feel like we're having a better one, right? So that's another tip. Number 2 practical tip right there. All right. Number 3 is, I learned this from Napoleon Hill, and I forgot which law of success it is in laws of success. I think it might be the 4th or the 5th, but it's going the extra mile. And what does that mean? And I even have another rule that's going to expound upon this one. Going the extra mile, what does that mean? That means putting in extra work. It doesn't mean work harder. It just means putting in extra work. So if you're running and you're training, let's see, you're training for a 5K. Well, a 5K is only what, if you're in the United States and we're talking about miles, it's like 3.21 miles. Okay, go an extra half a mile. Go an extra mile. If you have things for work and your focus is to get to the next level, okay, maybe if you can, stay a little longer. Do extra work. Find extra projects to take on. Whatever, to find a new skill, go the extra mile and read an extra page, read an extra 2 pages, read an extra chapter, whatever it is, just go the extra mile. What is that going to do? That is going to program your brain to become comfortable with the stretch. You're going the extra mile. You're literally training your brain to say, okay, I'm tired. I don't feel like your feelings are telling your brain, we don't feel like this. This is uncomfortable. When you start to control your brain, now you start to say, it is uncomfortable. I do feel uncomfortable. Guess what? We still going to go and do it anyway. That's another way that you can stretch yourself, and so you can get to the next level and have a more fulfilling lifestyle. Number 4 is going to be a trick that I learned from Mel Robbins. Awesome woman. I don't know her personally, but I've seen her videos on YouTube. I've read her book. She seems to be a very awesome. I see her on Instagram whenever I am on social media. And she wrote a book called The 5-Second Rule. And I advise you to go read it. When I was learning to go the extra mile, I started doing the 5-second rule. Okay, I don't feel like doing something. Okay, 5 seconds. And I want you to go, and I'm not going to steal her shine, but it's in there. She talks about a scientific like analysis based on studies that says, and I've heard it in other realms, not just from her book, that we have 7 seconds before our brain starts to find reasons for us to not do things. 7 seconds. That is a very long time for brain activity. You could do a lot you can make a lot of decisions in 7 seconds if you really thought about how many things and to what extent you think about certain things in 7 seconds. 5 seconds takes 2 seconds off that time, so you can make a decision and say, okay, we're just going to do it. You're not giving your brain the ability to override and say, oh, let's stay comfortable. I want to stay here because this is comfortable, so we're not going to do this. No, we don't need any doubts. We don't need to put any more doubts inside of our mind, inside of our brain, for us to not do anything. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. Let's get it. Boom. All right. That's number 4. And last one, number 5. All right. Number 5 is a 2-minute rule. I don't remember where I learned this from, but it really helps. When you come across a task and that task is going to take less than 2 minutes, do it. What this does is, once again, it goes with number 3. It goes with the idea of taking the extra mile. Okay, I don't feel like doing these 10 dishes, but these 10 dishes are only going to take me less than 2 minutes. Now, this might be an over exaggeration. Shoot, it might be an exact situation, because it could be just like 5 forks. You want the kitchen clean. This task is going to take me less than 2 minutes. So do it. It's going to, oh, I need to wash clothes, but I don't feel like doing it right now. I'm giving you scenarios that I go through personally. I don't feel like washing these clothes. Well, it's only going to take you a minute and a half to throw in a load of clothes, put some laundry detergent in there, close it, and then put the temperature for the water, and then press start. It's going to take you less than 2 minutes. Go do it. These are I've literally given you 5 different ways, 5 tactics that you can use today so you can change your life, and change not just your right now, your present moment, but you could change your future self. Because when your future self is looking at you and you're looking back and you're like, wow, like this really helped me at this point in my life, you're going to thank you're going to be so thankful. So these are 5 things, literally 5 ways that we can stretch ourselves today so we can become not better, but so we can evolve, so we can get ourselves to the next level, so we can have a more fulfilling lifestyle. Right here, let's stretch. Let's stretch, get in a good stretch, right? Let's stretch ourselves. Let's stretch our mind. Let's stretch our brain so we can get to the next level. And the great thing about stretching is it'll become, especially with soft skills, it becomes repetitive. It becomes a habit. And when you get one habit, there's a compound effect. I'm going to talk about that in another episode. But yes, let's compound our habits by starting a new habit that could replace a habit that we just don't resonate with anymore. All right, so you have just tuned into the Ankh Living Podcast with yours truly, the one and only KiMu JTD. And make sure you share, subscribe, like, do all the things that way you can show love to the people that you already love, and you can show love to me. Also, make sure you please comment so I know what's going on, what you're thinking. I really want to know how I can serve you more. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. And I look forward to talking to you next week. Peace.